Hi folks, welcome to day 1 of being quarantined and no school. As promised, I'm reading Ruby on the Outside. So even the classes with the lowest, they started on page 29. So you may be in a class that you've read farther, but just hang tight. I'm going to read 3 pages today starting on page 29. I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little better. Okay, so I'm starting at the top of 129. It looked like she was with her grandmother, but the grandmother was just dozing, right in her chair, sitting up. They had been waiting longer than we had. Maybe the girl's mother was in her class or checking a book out of the library too, or on her work duty. But then all of a sudden, this girl made this funny noise, like a dog yelping or a cat when you step on its tail. But she didn't move. She sat frozen. I followed her eyes past the other tables and all the other families, inmates in green and officers in blue, to where her mother had walked in. The mom was so young and pretty. Her hair was twisted into tight braids that ended, each one in a tiny, colorful bead at the nape of her neck. And she was smiling, a smile bright with all the love in the world, just like my mom did when she would see me waiting for her. And for the first time, I wondered, what could this pretty mother have done to be put in jail, in prison? Because back then I didn't know the difference between jail and prison. It was all the same, on the inside or on the outside. You're either out or you're in, here or there. I knew as much about my situation as I wanted. I knew about my mother's husband, Nick. Even though we were all living together, I can't remember him at all. I had seen one picture of him, one that must have slipped by Matu when she threw all the others away. He was tall and dark, with hair on his face but none on his head. And in the photo, he was standing next to my mom, gripping her arm like she doesn't want her to get away. I don't know who took the picture, but she is squinting and he is wearing those aviator sunglasses. He looks very confident, and I guess he was, because he convinced my mother to accompany him when he needed drugs, and my mother thought she needed him. So I never wanted to ask my mother why my mother was in prison, but all of a sudden I wanted to know about this little girl's mother. What had she done? Did she have a bad husband like my mother? Larissa, the mother called out, and that seemed to do the trick. The little girl jumped right up out of her seat like a ping pong ball, smacked by a paddle. She ran directly to her mom, and I watched the mother wrap her 2 arms all the way around her little girl until I couldn't tell one body from the other. I don't remember anything about visiting my own mother that time. I've had so many they start to blend into one another. But what I do remember was that when our visit was just nearly over, there was a random mandatory head count. Or maybe it wasn't random. Maybe something had happened somewhere else in the prison. Whatever it was, everybody in the whole place needed to be accounted for. All the visitors had to sit down, not move, and all the prisoners had to stop talking and stand. Don't move. Officer Rubens started counting with his little clicker, everyone in green. Everyone standing up. It took another forever. Then, and no one said why, all the moms and sisters and daughters were all taken back to their cells and we had to leave. It was just one of those things. I'm just going to the ladies' room before we leave, Ruby, Matu said. Wait here. I waited, but I thought about that little girl again, and I just had to know. I remembered her mother calling out her name, Larissa, and I took a chance. Can you tell me what Marissa's mother did? I stepped up to the CO. Why is she in here?